Okay, so in this PowerPoint, we're going to talk about SAQs, plyometrics, and power lifts for the 100-meter sprint in track. Okay, so first thing we're going to talk about is just going over the sport analysis. So describing the sport, movement analysis, and energy system. We're going to review the 100-meter sprint warm-up following the ramp protocol. And then we're going to get into looking at the different drills for speed, agility, quickness, and then upper, lower body plyometrics and upper and lower body power lifts.
Okay, so for the sport analysis for the 100-meter track sprint, for the sport description, basically all you're going to do for 100-meter sprint is sprint the 100 meters in a straight line and cover that distance in the shortest amount of time possible as it's a race. For the movement analysis, it's just you just sprint. That's all you do in this race or for this sport. And then for muscular involvement, it's basically a total body exercise. All major muscle areas are involved, but primarily lower extremities such as the glutes, the thighs, and the core. When it comes to physiological requirement, it requires a lot of muscular strength and power, as strength directly correlates to power, but power is the majority of what we want here. We want the anaerobic, we want that explosive movement. And for that reason, the primary energy system is for this exercise or for this sport, sorry, is phosphagen and fast glycolysis.
The warm-up we'll be performing today will be specific to the 100-meter sprint. The warm-up will be following the ramp protocol, which is an acronym that stands for RAISE, which involves the elevation of body temperature, heart rate, respiration rate, etc. The activation and mobilize phase, which actively moves you through a range of motion specific to the sport, and potentiate, which is when you perform sport-specific activities that progress until you're at the desired intensity. For the R in ramp, we will be performing a light jog around the 400-meter track for 1 lap. For the activation and mobilize portion, we will be performing leg swings side to side from the back. This will be getting the hips and legs ready to run. Sitting arm swings, activating the arms for running. Passive powerful swings, which mimics the arm drive you use for sprinting. Frankenstein's opposite arm to stretch out those hamstrings. Walking quad stretch, which stretches the quads. Walking lunges with a twist for the rotation portion of sprinting. Walking calf raises, which engages the calf muscles. Marches, prepare for high knees, and it's very similar to the running pattern used for sprinting. High knees and butt kicks primarily focus on the knee and leg drive, which is also important for sprinting. High knees, power skips rather, works on the powerful knee up, ankle dorsiflexion, split arms with power, which also mimics the sport. For the potentiation portion, we'll be performing 50-70 sprints, the 50-70 being in reference to the intensity that you are running at. So 50% and 70% of how fast you can run, the fastest you can run rather. Sprint from a prone position with your arms out, which mimics the starting position of the sprint. And the sprint from the starting block, which in a 3-point stance, which mimics the starting position of the race.
The SAQ drill that we're going to talk about is the bungee sprint. So the bungee sprint basically is just mimicking the movement of running with a resistance factor adding to it, obviously being the bungee. Some primary muscles that are involved are the whole core, meaning abdominals, glute max, gastrocnemius, quads, and hamstrings. So basically all the muscles I use for running. And for this exercise, setup is important. So just making sure that the bungee is going backwards and then the partner is giving resistance, but just enough so the athlete can still run. And in this, the athlete forcefully drives forward and resists the torque the bungee is creating. So the bungee obviously is trying to pull the athlete back, and they have to create enough force and power to run forward. And using this for track especially helps because it helps them create, the bungees create resistance so the athlete can generate more power to run and yeah, so just having more power and speed obviously helps with track.
Okay, so in this portion, I'm going to be talking about the upper body plyometric chest pass. So what you're gonna want to do is set up the exercise by placing two people roughly 10 feet apart. Grab a medicine ball that is roughly like 2 to 8 pounds and weight for the medicine ball. Get into a comfortable upright stance, feet shoulder width apart. Obviously face the person or the rebounder. This exercise, what you're going to want to do is hold the exercise ball, the medicine ball, up to the chest and raise the ball up to the chest and perform a counter movement, which is basically cocking the arms and moving them slightly backward before the actual throw for the momentum portion. To pass the ball, what you're going to want to do is throw the ball to the rebounder by flexing the shoulders and extending the elbows. And you can do this through an explosive action. And then once the rebounder returns the ball, you just catch it, return back to the starting position, and immediately repeat the movement.
The low body plyometric we chose for the 100-meter sprint is the power skip. The primary muscles involved in this are the gastrocnemius, quadriceps, hamstrings, and core. For this drill, this is a low-intensity drill that involves a powerful vertical and horizontal component when jumping up and forward with a contralateral leg drive and arm swing. The purpose of this drill is it can be used to mimic the leg knee drive and power needed during a sprint, not only during the run itself, but even more so when pushing out the starting blocks. Notice how the vertical component is greatly exaggerated, and I'm using the power from the previous repetition to gain more power for the next repetition.
Okay, so for this exercise, we're going to be talking about the push jerk. Basically, the primary muscles involved are the glute max, hamstrings, quads, soleus, gastrocnemius, deltoids, traps. As shown in the video, that will be the starting position for my explanation. When you start there, what you want to do from there is quickly and forcefully flex while extending the hips and knees in order to properly drive the bar upward from the shoulders while pushing the body underneath the bar. The bar should finish in an overhead position as shown in the video. It's an explosive movement which requires a rapid hip and knee extension in order to properly accelerate the bar off the shoulders. The purpose of this exercise is in order to develop power and coordination of both upper and lower body musculature, which are both very important when it comes to sprinting, as sprinting requires total body movement of both upper and lower body musculature.
Okay, so the lower body power lift that we chose for the 100-meter sprint was a power clean. So power clean is a very involved movement with a lot of primary muscles. So some of them being the glute max, hamstrings, quads, soleus, gastro, deltoids, and traps. And then a brief description of a power clean. It's a quick and forceful pull of the bar to the shoulders in one movement. So even though there's 4 phases of the upward movement, it's all one movement, all one continuous motion. So the 4 phases are the first pull, the transition, the second pull, and then the catch. But like I said, even though there's 4 phases, they're all in one movement, and triple extension of the hips, knees, and ankles is also super important for this exercise. And the purpose of a power clean is to develop whole body power and strength. And it's important for sprinters to generate enough power to get out of the starting blocks and accelerate and run as fast as they can through the finish line. And also, there's another variation of a power clean, which is a hang power clean, and that is where the bar starts slightly above or below the knee. So either option would work here.